What's going on, guys? It's Zach here, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. And this one I'm going to be previewing the Week 8 Thursday Night Football matchup between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Buffalo Bills. I'll just be sort of quickly going position by position and sort of going over which players should and shouldn't be in your fantasy football lineups. Trying to spend a little bit more time on the primetime games each week, so trying to get you guys just all set for your lineups and hopefully help you guys sort of may enjoy some DFS as well. As always, as well, coming out Saturday morning, you guys will get the breakdown of every single other game, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that video. Friendly reminder that I put out every single week as well. If you do have any players that you're intending to play in Thursday Night Football, make sure you take them out of that flex spot, put them into the running back or wide receiver position. We don't want to find ourselves in a spot where we utilize our flex spot on Thursday Night Football, and then we have an injury later on in the week, and then we've lost that flexibility. So if you're going to play a player tomorrow, a running back or a receiver, make sure they're in that spot rather than in the flex spot, because it's going to give you a lot more flexibility as the rest of the week goes on. So keep that in mind. This should be a pretty fun game between two apparently more competitive teams in terms of like how balanced this matchup ends up being. The Bucs come into this matchup at 3-3. The Bills are only 4-3. This is pretty much a must-win game. It feels like for the Bills. I know they're 4-3 and have plenty good to win a lot of games going forward, but they're sort of reeling a little bit. It does seem like they need to get off the schneid and get a big win here. So I sort of think this could be a get-right game for the Buffalo Bills, but their defense has looked really bad, so we could see a lot of scoring in this one. So hopefully we get a bit of a better matchup in Thursday Night Football than we've gotten so far, and hopefully it ends up being a really fun game. So as always, if you guys have any specific start-sit questions as well, especially pertaining to this game, just let me know in the comments. I love helping you guys get your lineup set, love helping you guys get all set for the week, and hopefully helping you guys get some wins. So with that being said, let's just get into the quarterbacks here. So starting us off with the quarterback position, I'll start off with Baker Mayfield of the Buccaneers. The Bills aren't as scary of a defense as they really were to start the season. They've had a lot of injuries. They lost cornerback Tre'Davious White. They're banged up on the defensive line as well. They lost, I'm blanking on his name, but their middle linebacker as well. So they really just aren't the same defense that they have been going early on in the season. That is really limiting their ability to win football games right now. But I don't see a world where I'm playing Baker Mayfield. This is a week where you've got 0 buys, so you should have a better option at the quarterback position than Baker Mayfield. I don't see him being an option in redraft here. If you want to utilize him in DFS, it's like play him over Josh Allen in the Millie Maker or something on DraftKings. Go ahead. I think it's an okay option. I think he might end up being the better value over Josh Allen because I do think this game could end up being a shootout. But obviously, Josh Allen's going to be the much better play in this game just from a neutral standpoint. And then obviously, I don't want to be playing Baker Mayfield in regular redraft leagues right now. Josh Allen, I know the Bills have sort of struggled on offense, but despite that, Josh Allen is still the quarterback 1 overall in the season. He's basically responsible for every single touchdown and yard this offense has. He is Superman for this offense. They need him to make anything happen, and that's going to continue this week. The Bucs can be beaten through the air and actually have a really solid run defense. They're going in to air it out for Buffalo, so I'd expect a 300-yard, two passing touchdown game for Josh Allen, maybe add in 40 rushing yards as well. It should be a big game for Josh Allen, and if you've got him in fantasy, you're obviously starting him. I really do think this could be a get-right week for the Bills offense, especially in the passing game. It's not a bad matchup at all. Pass rush for Tampa Bay is not extremely scary by any means, and that's what's really hindered the Bills right now is they just can't really protect the quarterback. I don't think that'll be as much of an issue this week, so obviously Josh Allen needs to be in your lineups. At running back, starting things off with Rachaad White for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Still low in running back 2 for me. The good news is that he is the only running back this season that's played 70% or more snaps in every single game this season. That's a pretty surprising stat, but if you think about it, it sort of makes sense. He really is the only guy in this backfield. He's not a guy that actually has any real competition behind him. We're seeing guys like Keyshawn Vaughn and Sean Tucker get touches. Chase Edmonds has been activated to come off of IR. He probably won't play this week, but he'll come back at some point and they'll give him a few touches as well. But Rachaad White really is all they have at the running back position in this offense, and it makes him a largely matchup and game script dependent or independent option. It's just because his passing game involvement is super great. He's going to be utilized as a pass catcher a lot. Obviously, this is not a great matchup for opposing running backs. The Bills should be able to get a lead in this one. You'll have to lean on this team being a pass-heavy team, but I think Rachaad White could easily see 7, 8 targets in this game. He's got a decent chance to score because I do expect the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to put up some points, although Rachaad White's not a guy that's found the end zone all that often this season, so I wouldn't expect a high-end performance for Rachaad White, but I think he's a solid running back too, and if you have him, you're probably playing him, but just don't expect like a high-end, week-winning performance out of him. James Cook for the Buffalo Bills. He's probably a low-end running back too. It's a really tough Buccaneers run defense, so I don't expect him to have a whole lot of success on the ground. They should involve him as a pass catcher a little bit more this week, especially with Dawson Knox injured. That should open up some of those sort of underneath targets for the running backs to get utilized here. We could see him involved there. The issue is we're still not seeing a situation where he's being utilized near the goal line, so he doesn't have an opportunity to really score here. On top of that, in 2-minute drill situations and in passing down situations, they are sort of using Latavius Murray quite a bit. They like Latavius Murray in pass protection a bit more than James Cook, and with the way this team's pass protecting at the offensive line, they want to have that extra layer of protection there for Josh Allen. So the ceiling is limited for James Cook. I don't see a world where he really wins you your week unless he busts off a couple of big plays, and he's an explosive player, and he could do that, but I wouldn't expect him to score in this game. You're probably getting 80 total yards, 5 or 6 catches, and just hoping he falls in the end zone for really high-end performance, but otherwise you're getting like a solid low-end running back 2 performance. And then Latavius Murray, I'll talk about him just a little bit here. Like I said, they are utilizing him quite a bit. He played 45% of the snaps last week, caught a pass, and was like 1 inch away from the end zone, so my call on him being a reasonably decent, like low-end running back 2 almost panned out. Didn't quite work out last week, and I think you can still use Latavius Murray as like a desperation running back 2 in some favorable matchups with a lot of buys going on or a lot of injuries, but this isn't the week for that. If you want to keep rostering Latavius Murray, you can, but don't consider playing him this week. It's a tough matchup. They should have success just getting up early, and I don't expect him to really be a threat to score in this one, so I wouldn't be looking to use Latavius Murray at all. Next up, we've got the wide receiver position for the Buccaneers. Mike Evans, he's a really high-end wide receiver 2 option. He just looks really great right now. He hasn't lost a step at all despite being around 30 years old. He's just been a really high-end performer. He's the wide receiver 17 in total points scored on the season, despite already having a bye and leaving the game early with a hamstring injury. On top of that, the Buffalo Bills can be beaten through the air. I mentioned earlier they lost their cornerback Tre'Davious White. They haven't been great really at all against defending the pass. They just let Kendrick Bourne have a really high-end game against them last week. Demario Douglas was involved. Pass catchers can succeed against the Buffalo Bills, and I think that Mike Evans is going to have a lot of success. In the same vein there, Chris Godwin, he's a solid wide receiver 3. Obviously, we prefer Chris Godwin more in PPR formats because he's not really being utilized downfield as much as we'd like him to, although he's being utilized downfield more than he was with Tom Brady the last couple seasons. He's a solid wide receiver 3. The Bills are going to force the Bucs to air it out in this one. The Bills should get up. The Bucs are going to need to score a lot of points, and Godwin's going to be a big part of that, so you can definitely play Godwin. I don't really see a world where I would be sitting him unless you're in like a really shallow 10-team league. He's just super safe in PPR formats, so I'd be leaning on Godwin probably this week. Obviously, Stephon Diggs, he needs to be in lineups, so I'm not going to spend too much time on him. He's a superstar. He's a top 5 wide receiver this week. He's a guy that's just got to be in your lineups every single week. Gabe Davis, he's a decent flex play. I do like the matchup for the Buffalo Bills this week, but after 2 straight duds and in a week with 0 buys, I totally get it. If you want to bench Gabe Davis, if you're in a shallower league, in a normal 10-team league, I probably want to look elsewhere. But if you're in a 2-team or a 12-team league or a 2 flex or 3 flex or 3 wide receiver 2 flex league, so one of those deeper leagues where you're playing a lot of guys in your starting lineup, I think Gabe Davis is still a decent option. I have one league where it's a 12-team league. We have 3 wide receivers and 2 flex spots. I am probably going to utilize Gabe Davis as one of my flexes there. So I still think you can use him, but it's just not something that I'm super excited about. It's you're obviously banking on a touchdown because he really hasn't exceeded 5 targets more than like twice so far this season. He only has more than 40 receiving yards in 3 games so far this season. So obviously the floor is very low for Gabe Davis if this offensive line continues to struggle and they can't generate depth of target just because they have to dump it down before the pressure gets to Josh Allen. Obviously there's concern there, but even last week where he only had 1 catch, he had 2 end zone targets. He's being utilized in the goal near the red zone. The ceiling is there for Gabe Davis on any given week, so if you want to play him, I totally get it. And then it's not relevant yet, but with the injury to Dawson Knox, I'll highlight that when I get to the tight ends as well. But Dawson Knox, I believe he dislocated his wrist. He's going to miss a real chunk of time here over the next probably at least 4 weeks is what I've seen. We don't really have a true timetable there, but the Bills are going to have to run a lot more 3 wide receiver sets with Dawson Knox out. That's going to bring either Khalil Shakir or Deontay Hardy onto the field quite a bit more. It sounds like it's probably going to be Shakir. He's been My bad there. It sounds like it's going to be Shakir. He has been playing a little bit more lately, and I think that he's actually a really talented player. He looked really good in the Spurs last season as a rookie. I like Deontay Hardy quite a bit as well. So if you're in a deeper league and you want to add one of those 2 guys, I think it's worth sort of a speculative add there. We've seen a lot of situations for this team where that slot wide receiver has been a really valuable fantasy contributor for them. And think about Cole Beasley back in the day. There were some weeks last year with Isaiah McKenzie performing at a high level. I think you could see that sort of role return for this team this year. So if you want to pick up Khalil Shakir or Deontay Hardy and see which one of them grabs that wide receiver 3 role, I think you could because they are going to need to utilize a lot of 3 wide receiver sets, and there could be some fantasy value there in deeper leagues, but I wouldn't be playing either one of them this week unless you're in like a DFS format and you want to take a stab there. And then lastly, we've got the tight end position for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Cade Otton. He's running a ton of routes, but he just isn't a streaming option just yet. They're not throwing the ball to him quite enough. He's basically a member of that all-cardio team where he's running a ton of routes and otherwise just not very involved in the offense. I do think he's a relatively talented player. In like a dynasty, I'd still be holding Cade Otton, but I just don't think he needs to be rostered in redraft leagues. He's not being involved enough, and this isn't a good enough matchup where I'd consider streaming him. Dalton Kincaid for the Buffalo Bills. He's a clear top 12 tight end going forward, if not even higher than that. Buffalo struggled in pass protection quite a bit lately. I've talked about about that already a little bit, and that makes Kincaid a reliable dump down option. They can use him close to the line of scrimmage. He had a 7-catch, 85 receiving yard game last week, so it's nice to see him really step into that role with the injury to Dawson Knox and then perform at a high level. I think there's an opportunity here for him to potentially be the number 2 passing target, or the number 2 at least target getter in this offense behind Stephon Diggs. I added him even in a league where I have Travis Kelce, just because I think he gives me some trade bait there. I do believe in the talent and believe he can perform at a high level the rest of the season. So I think he's a guy that I'm probably starting this week. And if you want to ride him the rest of the season and count on him as the tight end 1, I really think you'll be able to. So I definitely, if for whatever reason Dalton Kincaid's still on waivers, pick him up. If you have him, play him this week. It should be a good matchup. I'd expect big things. And then as long as Dawson Knox remains out, I think it's going to be a really solid option. So that'll do it for the Week 8 Thursday Night Football Primer. Hopefully it ends up being a really good game. Hopefully you guys get your lineup set and have some high-end performances for Thursday. As always, like I said earlier, if you have players that you're playing in this matchup, make sure you take them out of that flex spot, put them in the running back or wide receiver position, give yourself that flexibility right later on into the week. If you have any specific start-sit questions, either about the games later on this week or specifically in the game tonight, the Thursday night matchup, feel free to let me know in the comments. I love helping you guys get your lineup set and make sure that everything's all set for you guys to get some wins this week. Saturday morning, you guys will be getting the start sit video where I'll go over every single other matchup the rest of the week, go over which players should and shouldn't be in your fantasy football lineups, and then Sunday morning, 1 hour before the morning games kick off, I'll be going live briefly just to go over last-minute injury updates and help you guys get your lineup set at the last minute there with some last-second start-sit decisions. So if you guys want to make sure you get access to both the live stream as well as all the other videos I put out every single week, all you got to do is subscribe to the channel. You get a notification when I go live. If you click the notification bell, you get notifications when new videos come out, and that way you can help me help you the rest of the season. I'm at like 890-something subscribers right now, and I'd love to hit 1,000 by the end of the NFL season. So if you watch these videos and you haven't subscribed yet, just do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you are subscribed if you aren't completely sure, and then give the video a thumbs up as well. It helps with the algorithm, helps you know that I'm doing a good job, and it helps you know that you guys want to keep seeing more content like this. So thank you guys so much for watching the video. I really appreciate you guys taking the time, and hopefully I'll catch you next time. Peace. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.